got a team right here for right now. Just get down on the ground right now. Orientate.
U.S. raids Sierra Verde cartel truck convoy carrying tons of drugs and $220 million in cash. September 15th, 2025. 300 U.S. Army Special Forces opened fire on a convoy carrying 76 tons of methamphetamine and $220 million in cash belonging to the Sierra Verde cartel, a notoriously brutal and dangerous drug cartel. The convoy was escorted by nearly 80 gunmen. The escort members were armed with AK-47s, PKMS, and RPGs, determined to protect their empire. A fierce battle ensued. The cartel fighters opened fire wildly. The U.S. forces acted with overwhelming precision. What will happen to the cartel's convoy? Will the U.S. Special Forces be able to destroy them? This is not just a raid, but also the beginning of the downfall of this drug cartel. I will tell you the truth. At exactly 10 a.m., the stillness of Venezuela's western highlands broke, not with gunfire, but with a whisper from the sky. A U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone, circling high above the Sierra Verde Mountains, locked onto its target. The infrared feed lit up with unmistakable signatures. A convoy of 10 heavy trucks grinding across a dirt trail carved through the valley. The numbers alone were staggering. 6 trucks carried an estimated 76 metric tons of crystal meth, enough to flood every major American city for months. 3 more trucks held nearly 80 armed escorts, bristling with AK-47 rifles, PKM machine guns, and RPG launchers, a mobile platoon of cartel firepower. But the shock came from the final vehicle, painted in a crude green stripe, its sealed compartments packed with an unbelievable $220 million in U.S. cash, shrink-wrapped and hidden in steel chests. It was not just a smuggling run. It was a moving fortress of drugs, money, and guns. For months, American intelligence had tracked the Sierra Verde cartel, a group responsible for pumping an estimated $4 billion worth of narcotics into the hemisphere each year. Surveillance intercepts, satellite imagery, and informant tips painted the same picture. This convoy was the artery feeding the cartel's mountain stronghold. If left untouched, it could bankroll another decade of violence. From a temporary command post along a riverbank, U.S. commanders reviewed the live feed. The decision was swift and absolute: interdict, seize, and dismantle. Orders rippled outward through encrypted channels, from the drone crew to special forces teams staging in the valley. The trap was set. The convoy rolled deeper into the mountains, unaware that every mile forward was a step closer to its end. The trucks were carrying billions of dollars in drugs and cash, but the question remained: would the U.S. plan succeed, or would the gangs break through? By dawn on, the American response machine was already in motion. From a temporary riverbank base just 12 kilometers south of Sierra Verde, commanders had mobilized one of the most concentrated strike packages in recent memory. 300 U.S. troops were split with surgical precision, a special forces detachment of 40 operators, supported by 2 full ranger companies numbering more than 250 soldiers. Their task was clear: cut the convoy off from both its mountain stronghold and any possible escape routes. Above them, the air arsenal loomed. An AH-64E Apache gunship was designated for pinpoint strikes, its Hellfire missiles capable of destroying a moving vehicle in under 3 seconds. Orbiting higher still, an AC-130W Spectre gunship stood ready, armed with 30mm autocannons and precision-guided munitions. And never leaving its watch, the MQ-9 Reaper continued painting targets with laser markers, feeding coordinates down to every rifle and headset below. The scale of preparation was staggering. Supply officers had counted 40,000 rounds of small arms ammunition, 200 shoulder-fired rockets, and over 600 medical kits staged within reach. Commanders estimated that the cartel convoy, if allowed to link up with the Mountain Labs, could generate another $1 billion in narcotics within 6 months. The calculus was simple: neutralize the convoy now or allow a criminal empire to multiply unchecked. Radio chatter cut through the valley air. Encrypted orders, map grids, call signs. Soldiers tightened straps on their body armor. Medics laid out triage stations. Every movement was deliberate, measured, a calm before impact. At 10 a.m. sharp, confirmation came. The convoy was only minutes from the kill zone. With one final order: execute. The trap was sprung. If you're gripped by this mission so far, hit like and subscribe, because the firefight you're about to see is only just beginning. 10:05 a.m. The mountains of Sierra Verde erupted. From 12,000 feet overhead, the AC-130W Spectre unleashed its opening salvo. A stream of 30mm cannon fire stitched the dirt road in front of the lead truck, tearing craters into the ground and forcing the convoy to an abrupt, grinding halt. Dust clouds rose like smoke signals across the valley. For a moment, chaos replaced confidence. The 10-truck column that had carried 76 tons of meth and $220 million in cash was suddenly paralyzed, engines idling, drivers frozen. Then the realization hit. Their path was blocked, their every move marked. 200 U.S. soldiers surged forward from hidden positions along the ridgeline. Their firepower was overwhelming. M4 carbines, belt-fed M240S, and javelin launchers already zeroed in. The first volley shredded 2 of the cartel's escort vehicles, spraying metal across the rocks. In the opening 5 minutes, American units fired more than 6,000 rounds, a volume designed to shock and dominate. The cartel response was ferocious. Nearly 80 gunmen dismounted, unleashing a storm of AK-47 fire, PKM bursts, and sporadic RPG rockets. Explosions lit the valley floor as fighters scrambled into firing lines. Their goal was simple: delay, scatter, and run for the trees. But U.S. formations held their ground, advancing under disciplined cover fire. The cost of the battle was real. 10 Americans were wounded in the initial fighting, hit by shrapnel and small arms fire. Medical teams pulled them to safety under the cover of Apache helicopters overhead. In less than 10 minutes, the AH-64s fired more than 430mm rounds, neutralizing the heavy weapons teams that threatened the perimeter. By 10:20 a.m., the tide had turned. 30 cartel fighters lay dead or incapacitated. The rest broke formation, sprinting into the jungle in panic. But their retreat offered no safety. Rangers pushed forward in staggered teams, cutting escape routes with precision fire. One by one, the gunmen were cornered, zip-tied, and marched back under guard. The once invincible convoy was in ruins. Engines smoldered, trucks riddled with holes, the valley littered with abandoned rifles and shattered crates. And yet, the mission was only half finished. Ahead, higher on the mountain, the cartel's production labs still churned. The order came down crisp and clear: advance to the stronghold. The convoy is down, but the real battle is still ahead. What do you think waits inside the cartel's mountain base? Stay with us to find out. 10:30 a.m., while Rangers secured the valley below, 100 U.S. soldiers pressed upward into the Sierra Verde stronghold. Their mission was clear: breach the cartel's mountain labs, capture its leadership, and dismantle the heart of a billion-dollar empire. The ascent was steep and treacherous, but the element of surprise remained. Apache rotor blades thundered above, providing cover, while the Reaper drone painted targets with precision. At the edge of the ridge, the stronghold came into view, a fortified compound of 8 concrete bunkers, their smokestacks pouring the chemical stench of production into the air. Intelligence had estimated weekly output here at 10 tons of crystal meth, a street value exceeding $600 million per month. The strike began with controlled violence. Rangers breached the perimeter, detonating charges against steel gates. Within seconds, firefights erupted in the narrow alleys of the compound. Gang guards, estimated to be around 40 armed with shotguns and pistols, fired wildly from windows in return. But they were no match for disciplined U.S. formations. In less than 10 minutes, the defenders were disarmed, 22 arrested alive, the rest incapacitated. Inside, the discovery shocked even hardened operators. Rows of steel vats bubbled with precursor chemicals, and warehouse shelves sagged under the weight of 1.2 million packaged doses of methamphetamine, ready for shipment. Evidence teams estimated the cache's value at $750 million, making it one of the largest single seizures in U.S. counter-narcotics history. The climax came in a dimly lit office at the back of the compound. There, huddled behind a desk stacked with ledgers and satellite phones, was the Sierra Verde Cartel's field commander, the man credited with flooding 3 continents with poison. Surrounded by Rangers, he raised his hands and surrendered without a shot fired. His arrest signaled more than victory. It severed the command chain of an organization that had trafficked an estimated $4 billion annually. By 11:30 a.m., the compound was under complete U.S. control. Trucks were seized, cash was logged, suspects were zip-tied and flown to a secure holding site. What had been a hub of production now stood silent, its machinery cold, its empire in ruins. The order from command was immediate and final. Prepare demolition charges. The mountain base would not stand another day. 12 p.m. The order echoed across the ridgeline. Demolition phase, execute. Engineers moved swiftly, rigging charges across the Sierra Verde compound. Every lab, every storage room, every bunker was laced with explosives. For years, this stronghold had fueled an empire. Now it would be erased in minutes. The numbers spoke for themselves. In just one sweep, U.S. forces had seized 76 tons of crystal meth, confiscated $220 million in cartel cash, and captured more than 60 operatives, including the cartel's field commander. Analysts calculated that the destroyed stockpile and lost revenue would strip the cartel of nearly $1.5 billion in future profit. That was not just a dent. It was a collapse. At 12:30 p.m., the valley shook. Controlled blasts rolled through the mountains, each detonation flattening a bunker and sending plumes of black smoke into the sky. Concrete crumbled, steel vats folded like tin, and within 10 minutes, the cartel's flagship operation was reduced to rubble. From the air, the Reaper drone recorded the destruction. 8 bunkers gone, laboratories turned into scorched earth. What once manufactured narcotics for millions of addicts now smoldered as ash. The human toll was just as striking. U.S. medical teams reported 10 American soldiers wounded, all stabilized and evacuated. On the other side, the cartel had lost over 30 fighters in the Valley firefight, with dozens more captured alive. The sheer imbalance highlighted the precision of the operation. Overwhelming firepower applied with surgical restraint. By 2 p.m., the operation was complete. Convoy trucks were impounded, cash shipments loaded into armored containers, and evidence cataloged for prosecution. Helicopters lifted detainees toward secure facilities, while demolition crews swept the area to ensure no lab could be resurrected. The impact stretched far beyond Venezuela's borders. Intelligence officials briefed that this strike had cut off a supply chain capable of poisoning over 50 million potential doses across the United States. The ripple effect would cripple distribution networks from Miami to Los Angeles, sending shockwaves through cartel logistics. As the last plume of smoke drifted into the sky, the message was unmistakable. No fortress, no convoy, no empire is beyond reach. On that September afternoon, the Sierra Verde cartel lost its mountain, and with it the illusion of invincibility. By the time the sun dipped behind the Sierra Verde Mountains on September 15, 2025, the outcome was undeniable. In less than one day, U.S. forces had dismantled what intelligence officials once called the beating heart of the Western Hemisphere's drug trade. The statistics told the story with brutal clarity. 76 tons of crystal meth seized, enough to poison over 50 million potential doses. $220 million in cartel cash confiscated, money that would never finance another weapon or bribe, and more than 60 cartel operatives captured, including the elusive field commander whose arrest severed the chain of command. What had begun as a convoy of 10 trucks and 80 armed escorts ended in a battlefield of smoldering wreckage. The cartel lost not only its cargo, but its credibility. An empire valued at nearly $4 billion annually was reduced to ashes in a matter of hours. For the residents of nearby villages, long trapped under the shadow of violence, the explosions overhead were not just the sound of war, they were the sound of liberation. The cost was not ignored. 10 American soldiers wounded stood as a reminder of the risk borne by every man and woman in uniform. But their sacrifice ensured that an entire production hub was erased, preventing billions of dollars worth of narcotics from ever crossing borders. As the last helicopters lifted off, carrying prisoners and evidence, the blackened crater where the compound once stood became a symbol that no cartel fortress, no matter how remote or fortified, could stand against coordinated resolve. The Sierra Verde cartel had gambled everything on its mountain stronghold and lost it all before nightfall. If this mission opened your eyes, don't just watch. Take action. Hit like, share with those who need to know, and subscribe for more. Together we shine a light on the battles cartels want to keep in the dark.